This podcast is supported by MIDI Health. Are you in midlife, feeling dismissed, unheard, or just plain tired of the old healthcare system? You're not alone. For too long, women's serious midlife health issues have been trivialized, ignored, and met with a just deal with it attitude. Many of us have been made to feel ashamed or forgotten. In fact, even today, 75% of women seeking care for menopause and perimenopause issues are left entirely untreated. But here's the powerful truth. It's time for a change. It's time for MIDI. MIDI is not just a healthcare provider. It's a women's telehealth clinic, founded and supported by world-class leaders in women's health. What sets MIDI apart? We are the only women's telehealth brand covered by major insurance companies, making high-quality expert care accessible and affordable. Our clinicians provide one-on-one, face-to-face consultations where they truly listen to your unique needs. We offer a full range of holistic, data-driven solutions, from hormonal therapies and weight loss protocols to lifestyle coaching and preventative health guidance. This isn't one-size-fits-all care. This is care uniquely tailored for you. At MIDI, you will join our patients who feel seen, heard, and prioritized. You will find that our mission is clear: to help all women thrive in midlife, giving them access to the health care they deserve. Because we believe midlife isn't the middle at all. It is the beginning of your second act. Ready to feel your best and write your second act script? Visit joinmidi.com today to book your personalized insurance-covered virtual visit. That's joinmidi.com. MIDI, the care women deserve.
You're listening to KEMPIRE here on the KEMPIRE Radio Network.
Happy Tuesday, guys. It is Tuesday Takeover. However, it's a little bit different. This is a special podcast episode. You may have watched it on YouTube, or maybe you haven't. You exclusively listen here on the podcast. First of all, I just want to apologize for those that listen to our Real Housewives of Atlanta podcast episode, or the YouTube version, or this particular recap of the Real Housewives of Rhode Island. And of course, I'm talking about this new article that Andy Cohen did talking about Nene leaks and her possibly returning. I want to apologize about some of the static moments that you hear throughout the recap from yesterday and today's, because I recorded it yesterday. It wasn't a wire issue like I mentioned in the video. However, there was some sort of software issue. I'm still working it out. Even as I'm recording this, I'm using this as a test to make sure that the static is gone. But here comes the other issue. Once you make any sort of update, firmware updates, then sometimes that will cause other ripple effects and other issues. So the static might be gone, but right now I am trying to make sure everything else is working back in the studio. But it is what it is. You're not here to hear those things. You're here to be entertained. And hopefully this particular part of the episode doesn't have any static, because then we're back at the drawing board. However, when you listen to the rest of this episode, you will hear static in certain parts, but I think it's still, you still get the gist, and it's still an enjoyable recap. If not, I apologize. Things happen. It is what it is. I appreciate our community for understanding and showing love and support. And this is a reminder, if you're listening to this podcast version, thank you for listening, because as you can see, we do add things that we don't include in the videos and whatnot. But also, don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, and join our mailing list. We just launched our new mailing list, KEMPIRE's Inner Circle, where you'll be able to find out information that I'm not sharing anywhere else. I know I say that all the time, but I really do. Certain things get prioritized in different spaces. So the mailing list will get prioritized when we're announcing special discounts, special episodes, special tour dates, things like that. You will be the first to know. All right? So be sure to join the Inner Circle at thekempire.com/join. That's thekempire.com/join. I'll post a link in the description so you guys can join. Thank you so much. Take a listen to our mini Tuesday Takeover. Welcome, guys. Welcome back to the Kempire Channel, your number one source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. This is not going to be your normal Tuesday takeover because we're not going to go through a bunch of different hot topics. This is a pre-recorded live, just a heads up. You know, you haven't gotten a pre-recorded live in a while, but I had a lot of things I have to get done today, so I said, either you get a pre-record or you don't get anything at all. So which one is it? Which one is it? No promises. I'll be talking about the Med Gala and Med Galas? No, the Met Gala. We're so used to talking about Married to Medicine here. No promises, you know, especially when this is a Jeff Bezos sponsored event. I know Beyonce's there, but I think people have lost the energy around, you know, this Met Gala in regards to why people are so against Amazon and Jeff Bezos and everything that he represents and all the things that he's bought and silence and all. Okay, I'm not going to get political. I just wanted to point that out so if you don't see me talk about it. But if I do decide to talk about it, you'll eventually see. I'm just not going to talk about it here. This is going to be our recap of the Real Housewives of Rhode Island, but I also wanted to talk about a couple of things that I saw in the news that I'm going to include when it comes to Bravo news. Andy Cohen sat down with Vulture for another featured article. Yes. But what's standing out to a lot of people is what he said about Nene Leakes. So if you watched the Real Housewives of Atlanta recap sidebar, I do want to apologize for the sound quality of our last recap. I'm not sure if we've resolved it here. It was another wire. It wasn't the wire. It was another wire. But, and look, here's the thing. Let me just be 100% with you guys. If I was working with a team of producers and engineers and sound people and things like that, you wouldn't see anything, especially with the way I run the ship. Okay? Things would be on the up and up. However, when I'm the one producing this live show out of my own studio, where I am the engineer, producer, host, talent, booker, all of that, then y'all already know there will be things. And again, look, I've lived here how many years at this particular point? Well, almost 2 years. But the other element of this is this system that we've had here. Yes, there have been some upgrades and things like that, but things happen with tech. Y'all know this already. Some things, we've made a joke about it, so shout out to all of you. But things happen with tech, and every once in a while, you got to replace a wire or two. Apparently, the other wire that was going had to be changed. We had another one that let us know had to be changed. I don't even know. Maybe this wire that I switched out might need to be changed. Maybe it's something else. It's a growing process, so I appreciate everyone for their patience as we grow together. But when we have our daytime talk show, anything like this happens, you're fired. No, I'm playing. You're not fired. Because things happen in life. No one's perfect. But when we're producing a show with multiple people that have one job to do, you've got one job, make sure that lighting's good. You got one job, make sure that sound is good. You got one job, make sure those graphics are working behind me. You got one job, why didn't anyone do research on this particular guest? And why don't we have the right questions or the right... But everyone has their job, and that's a different thing. If all of that falls on me, you're bound to get mistakes. I know I am perfect most of the time, 99.9% of the time, but everything is not always going to be perfect. But shout out to those of you that give grace, and those of you that don't, to hell with you. I'm kidding. Calm down. Because, look, the villain era, I think, is officially over, y'all. Because I was... ready, because you know I live tweet, and I was talking about Real Housewives of Atlanta over the weekend, and I was live tweeting, and you know I share my thoughts, and some of you get upset about those thoughts, but what I do and what I love with X, and they need to do this on Instagram, I love a mute button. Someone randomly, because I posted like, oh, I love a mute button because some of y'all are fighting with yourselves. This man was like, oh, it's good to know that you don't want to hear your people's opinions and blah, blah, blah. It's not that I don't want to hear your opinions, but when I start seeing a particular tweet or post that I posted starting to go viral, meaning it's got over 1,000 likes and there's a lot of engagement, people are talking to it. First of all, I don't need those notifications because I already have a lot of notifications. Second of all, although there will be a lot of people that agree with me, there will be some of you that disagree, but you don't know how to disagree without being gross, disgusting. Because there's a way to disagree. We disagree all the time here in our community. We don't have to agree. I think people get that mixed up. We don't have to agree, but it's all about how you step to me. It's the same way when you come into my house, you're not going to come into my house and be disrespectful. and think that I'm going to be okay with it. So that's why I love the mute option. So this person was sort of like, oh, I'm unfollow. And you know what I did? I didn't even argue with them. I liked the comment. I said, doop, I don't care. Unfollow. Bye. Like, bye. But I also say this because someone else in the comment section, it was one of our RHOA tweets from over the weekend, and they they had this opinion. I'm not going to even regurgitate their stupidity because they wanted to call me stupid for a tweet that I posted. And mind you, I was ready to write a response because the thing is, they wanted to cite something, and I was like, well, let me cite you the update. It was in regards to Pinky Cole and Pinky being sued for not paying her employees. And I had to say, I was just like, what? Like, who are you talking to? First of all, we know that Pinky's been sued. That's factual. We know that's been out there. The other thing that we found out over the weekend was that Pinky's CFO was the reason why those employees weren't being paid. Do we really think that Pinky's at the computer paying these people when she's running a $100 million brand? I'm not saying that because look, we saw with Peter Thomas, he wasn't paying his workers, and that's why he went to jail. But he has a very smaller business in comparison to what she was running at the particular time. Either way, if there was proof that she did do what they said she did, we would drag her for it. However, we literally just found out this past week that her former CFO was arrested and indicted. So what exactly? I can tell the villain era is slowly dripping away because I didn't even respond to that person. I was ready to respond, and then I said, you know what? Never mind. I'm just going to put you on mute. So anytime you ever tweet me, I will never know. Yes. I love the mute button. Bring it to Instagram, please. I love it. I love it. I mean, you can on Instagram, you can just restrict people, but now I want a mute button. It's mute. Anyway, I have digressed. But since we're talking about Real Housewives of Atlanta, Andy Cohen sat down for this interview. He's been doing a lot of interviews. I know he also has a new book coming out. So he sat down for this interview. Can I show you guys this picture? Let me actually pull this up. This is pre-recorded, but we're going to pull it up. So this is a picture. I mean, this is better photo shoot than the last photo shoot he did for Vulture, because I looked up the other photo shoot that he did for Vulture. And in that, you remember it was like he had the creepy face. It was like a weird, creepy one. I actually liked this particular photo shoot more than the last one. Okay, he's actually looking very youthful in this photo. The other one made him look a lot older and sinister. But I think that's who the real Andy is anyway. But I digress. But it's featuring a lot of Bravo stars. Well, not even just Bravo stars, just reality stars. Vulture is highlighting them, including Stacey Rush, the young lady from she was on Traitors, but she's also on Top Chef. So that's how I got familiar with her. Then you can see Ryan Serhant, who we love. We love Selling Manhattan. Owning Manhattan, not selling. Lord have mercy. I can't keep up with all the different reality real estate shows. And then you see Stacey Rush. Stacey looks good. I don't know about that wig. Stacey, we got to get this wig stuff together. I mean, the wig doesn't look bad, but it could look better. You know what I mean? But anyway, Nene Leakes is also featured in this article as well. Remember, we were talking about whether or not Nene Leakes would come back. And basically, Andy Cohen in this article dashes our hopes. But am I surprised? I'm not surprised that Andy Cohen is not here for Nene Leakes returning. However, very much like how he couldn't make Real Housewives of Miami return, if the powers that be over at NBC Universal want to work with Nene Leakes, as you can see right now, we're working with Nene Leakes. If the powers that want her back, powers that be want to bring her back to Real Housewives of Atlanta, the powers that be will bring her back. However, based off of Atlanta's ratings this season, so far, they're not doing bad. I could see them definitely making some changes, including getting rid of maybe a Kelly, or not even just Kelly. Look at Drew. Even this episode, some of you were saying that there really wasn't a lot of Drew. Drew was in the episode. She wasn't in last week's episode. Kelly wasn't in the previous week's episode. So the possibility of Drew not coming back next season, that could open the door. But I know Nene Leakes is going to want a hefty payday. I definitely think Nene should work with the network, but I also understand. Here I go twerking on a fence. I understand why Andy Cohen will never see it for Nene, because that's the kind of person I would be too. If you sat up there, sued me, called me anything but a child of God in this lawsuit, I would not, I couldn't. I would never see it for you ever again. But Andy's good at playing the game in regards to, like, look, I have a multi-million-dollar contract with NBC Universal. I'm not going to talk out against her anymore. And he never really talked out against her. He just says, I'm never going to mention her name. She told me to keep her name out of her mouth. Now it's gotten a little bit more sweeter, and I think that's because of the network. But when asked about Nene Leakes and why she was included in the Ultimate Girls Trip, and if that opened the door for Nene to return, let me just tell you what he said in this interview with Vulture. So the interviewer asked this question. Nene is making an appearance on Ultimate Girls Trip. I was pretty surprised by that. She sued you guys. Why are you bringing her back? And he says, we're celebrating 20 years of Housewives. I can't speak to that lawsuit, but it's in the past. She was integral to the show and its success. As we looked back on 20 years, it felt like doing something with her would be really nice for the fans. And she really wanted to do it. It was very positive. That is such a corporate response, diplomatic response. And I knew he was already ready for that response. He knew that that question probably was going to be asked, but it said a bunch of nothing. And look, do we expect this Gemini, aka Andy Cohen, to be like, you know what, Nene and I go back. Nene and I are, we've had a very tumultuous relationship. We're not going to get heart from Andy Cohen in this moment. He's going to give us what the publicists have told him to give. We also have to keep in mind, too, they are facing multiple lawsuits where he is named as well from other Bravo celebrities. So I'm not completely shocked that Andy Cohen is not going to be warm. He's going to give us the politically correct response here, but I also can't blame him. See, me, I probably I ain't never going to see it for that lady. She called me a crackhead and that she stole this and then did that and blah, 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 blah. Only some of what she said was true. Allegedly. Look, allegedly. I'm just going to say allegedly since she dropped the lawsuit. Then the next question from the interviewer says, is it a foot in the door so that she could return? So Andy responds and says, you know what? We've worked so hard to get a cast on Atlanta that is cohesive and makes sense and that we love and the fans love. We want to be at that level that Atlanta used to be, and we are finally there. That's what I'm focusing on right now. The door is closed, y'all. But again, like I said, at the end of the day, if the powers that be at NBC Universal want to bring Nene Leakes back on RHOA, they will. But numbers are important. And if they are delivering with this current cast, I think they will be not returning with the Nene Leakes. I would love to see Nene return, but I still think what they should do, Nene do another season of Traitors. She was supposed to be on the last season. Do Traitors. Then I want to see them do RHOA Legacy. I don't think they should do RHOA Legacy without a Kenya Moore. I understand legally they can't work with Kenya Moore right now because of the Brit Eady lawsuit. So we're going to have to wait. So do I think that Nene will be on season 18? No. Do I think she could return for season 20? Very possible. Look at what happened with Vicky Gunvalson. So let's say now that Nene will probably return, and she'll return in season 20. And this will be sort of a soft rollout, Ultimate Girls Trip. Because I'm looking forward to seeing Nene be a part of Ultimate Girls Trip. I still think that she should have been a part of the principal cast. Especially because this is not Real Housewives of Atlanta. She's a part of the groundwork. But I get it. You got a multi-year deal with Portia. Whatever. So along with that, I feel like the soft rollout would be let's continue to work with Nene. She'll do red carpets for E. Well, I guess not E anymore because that's no longer under NBC Universal. She'll continue to do other things for Bravo. Look, because wait, next year will be BravoCon, so that'll be technically season 19. But technically, well, no, because BravoCon, next year, so it's 2027. So the next BravoCon after that, if they do every 2 years, then okay, Nene returns for season 20. Then you give her the Lifetime Achievement Award. You see what I'm saying? I see the rollout. If we're going to do a rollout, we're going to do a soft rollout. I know you guys have been begging for it. I do believe that they're solidifying this cast slowly but surely. But I could see a bunch of people not returning. I'm not talking about the OGs. I'm not even talking about Phaedra. I know. I'm not even talking about... Kelly could go. Drew has definitely delivered over the years, but I definitely think it's time for Drew to go. I could see Kelly not returning. She can't even film with her kids. Not her fault, but people find her annoying. Shamia, that's already 4 people. That's already 4 people. Right? Did I count Shamia twice? Hold on. I said Kelly, Drew. Who else? Who else did I say? Who else is on this damn cast? Who else can I see not returning? Please hold. Let me see who's on this damn cast. If I counted Shamia twice, damn Shamia. Yeah, I probably did count Shamia twice. Well, here's the thing. I had high hopes for K. Michelle too. But do I think K. Michelle? I don't think K. Michelle will want to return for another season. So there you go. Like now your strong cast is no longer strong when you have to get rid of, and they won't. They'll probably continue to do another season with Shamia. But Shamia's cringe. K. Michelle is way too sensitive. I think she's going to continue to crash out. Drew, I think they've given Drew enough chances to get it together. What are we talking about when it comes to Drew? So the door is cracked open, but I'm not surprised at this Andy Cohen response. But I think we will see Nene return in season 20. By then, I think all the stars will have aligned, and Nene will continue to work with the network. I can see her on Trader. It's just so many things that the network is doing. There's so many things they could do with Nene. Like I said, I think we should get an RHOA legacy. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't think the door is closed. I'm also not one of those delusional fans that feels like, oh, Nene, Nene didn't change towards the end, those last few years of RHOA. I understand that. I think Nene has been humbled enough to come in humbly. And I think we're going to see that on Ultimate Girls Trip. I'm not here for humbling anyone, especially a black woman, but I definitely think she has been humbled. And she's more than willing to come back with her tail between her legs and come back to work with this network that she accused of all kinds of different things. She did. I'm just giving you the facts. I'm not giving you opinion right now. All right, I've digressed. So this is like a Tuesday takeover because we've been talking for like 20 minutes. Today is brought to you by our friends over at Hulu. Real talk. You live for reality TV. Every time it gets crazy, gets juicy, gets dramatic, and completely irresistible. And lucky for you, Hulu on Disney Plus does too, with the most unhinged and unmatched library of shows. Period. Turn on larger-than-life docusoaps like Season 4 of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and the hit new series Love Thy Nader, featuring superstar model Brooks Nader and her sisters. Obsess over the seasons of iconic dating shows like Love Island UK and Farmer Wants a Wife. Get hooked on irresistible food competitions like Master Chef. Dive into hit game shows like Celebrity Family Feud and revel in show-stopping fashion competitions, including the one and only Project Runway. Whatever it is you're into, Hulu has it all. No filler, no fluff, just thousands of episodes of the very best in reality TV every single day. Because Hulu gets real. Stream now on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply. And we're back. Guys. Don't forget to like today's video. It's an easy, free way of supporting not just my channel, but other channels as well. Thanks to Hulu for sponsoring our semi-Tuesday takeover and Real Housewives of Rhode Island recap. Back to what I was saying, though, in regards to this vulture celebration of reality television. Shout out to our friends over at No Chaser TV. They write, Nene leaks Riley birth, and I see people in the comment section, why is Riley being featured? Because Riley, first of all, has been on reality television since she was a little girl, and featured on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, and she's on now a new hit for Bravo. I had to think through it myself. I was like, but wait, why did they feature Riley Burris? And I was like, and so I was like, who did Candy pay? No, but when you think about it, she's been on reality television since she was a little girl. And she's been featured on Real Housewives of Atlanta over the years since Candy was on there, and she was on there for 15 seasons. So I was like, okay, well, when I think about it like that. So they said Riley Burris, Stacey Rush, Tiffany New York Pollard, Sierra Miller, Mary Cosby, Taylor Hale. Shout out to Taylor. I love Taylor. And more. Vulture's top 40 reality TV masterminds list of 2026. So I think Riley represents like the younger generation in regards to these reality TV stars. But why is what's his name? Brooks Marks. I didn't even know this was him because he has blonde hair now. I didn't even realize this was him. Okay. Stacey looks good. I just hate the wig, Stacey. I hate the wig. Kathy Hilton doesn't even look like herself on the cover of this. And Kathy is not sharing the cover with anybody. It's just her. Okay. All right. I also see, oh my gosh, what's her name? Ariana Madix. Damn, sorry, Ariana. Ariana looks great, though. Ariana looks great. All right. Y'all are funny in this chat. All right. Anyway, for those that are just joining us, we are pre-recorded. Pre-recorded. So for those that might be like, oh, Kempire, why are we in a pre-record? You'll be strong because you almost didn't get anything at all. Okay. All right. Let me move on. What else do I want to talk about? Oh, let's talk about Real Housewives of Rhode Island. Rhode Island is delivering. Now, for those that want to know my opinions on Rhode Island is delivering. We're 6 episodes in. I'm in. They are bringing it. I have some things and thoughts on some of the ladies, but speaking of, so this week's episode, Kelsey reveals that her and her sugar daddy, aka ex-boyfriend, have broken up. So now she has to move out of the house. And she basically makes it seem as if she's the one who decided this. And maybe she did. She's been with the guy since she was 19 years old. 10 years they've been together. And she's been living this lavish lifestyle her entire 20s. But she's now hitting 30. She wants to have kids. She wants to get married. I believe that. However, the streets are saying, shout out to the TikTok streets, the streets are saying that they had already broken up before the show even started. Apparently, her ex-boyfriend's a big fan of the show. So it wouldn't shock me that he's like, oh, okay, I'll play along. But you can't feature me on the show. You can't show me on the show. However, I do believe that they were in a relationship for 10 years, but them breaking up before the show, her being able to use this house as her backdrop, because of course they want to feature this woman. You're dating this sugar daddy. It's like a new version of Ken Zolciak. And you're living in this very lavish, is it considered a mansion? I guess it's considered a mansion. So Kelsey and her boyfriend are broken up. She says there wasn't one specific thing. It was just sort of like building over time. Here's the thing. If I was Kelsey's new boyfriend, Bobby, and it'd be different if it was some new guy, some new guy that we haven't seen on the show. Bobby, I want you to want more for yourself. You're basically second best. And you're second best to a woman that basically is talking and calling you second best on a national television show. And millions of people are seeing this. I don't know how I would feel. If the tables were reversed, I already know Brooke would be like, leave that man. You know what I mean? Like if you're choosing being second best. But based off of Bobby's personality, I'm not completely surprised by that. And she feels like, I'm the prize. You should just accept me the way that I am, blah, 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 blah. You're second best. And she already is saying that you couldn't even afford her in the lifestyle that she's used to. Hey, first of all, Bobby's family should be like, I don't want you to be with that trollop. So, you know what I mean? Just because of the way she spoke about you. And yes, she does say nice things about him too, but she also said basically you're broke and that you can't, she can't afford, she would have to work if she got with you. And look, at the end of the day, if that's what she wants for herself in regards to a certain lifestyle, that's fine. However, you should understand, basically, you're second best. And she is not leaving this man for you. She's leaving this man because she's just tired of it, and she's on to the next. Don't be surprised next season Bobby's still lurking around, but she's still out there dating. She's probably going to give us a Drew Sidora. Well, we're not together. I'm entertaining. I'm dating. I'm fresh out of this 10-year quote relationship. If this comes true, I am officially psychic, or she's just plain, typical, right? All right. So moving on from there. So she FaceTimes with Liz to let Liz know. Well, Liz called her, and Liz was doing the red light therapy on her face, talking about, I read your text message, and she's like, are you okay? Apparently Kelsey was also on Watch What Happens Live this weekend, talking a little bit more about this. Kelsey, you're a little performative anytime when it comes to the Rosie of it all. But she also confirms the whole Rula, you missing out on episodes. You weren't even in this week's episode. And you're carrying the season on your back. And your marriage is back. So Kelsey basically says that what happened in that episode, although we don't want to say that Brian's lying on his mother's health, but she says she's almost 100% sure that Brian did meet up with the mistress. Lord have mercy. Brian, there's a special place in hell for you that you would use your mother's health as an excuse to go see the mistress. And Rula, you're okay with it? Okay, Rula. You like it, I love it for you. At this particular point, Joellen, you need to let that go. Please and thank you. All right? So, she says, in regards to her ex-boyfriend, she says there really wasn't one thing. It was building over time. She also reveals that she found out it really was more than one other woman. Anyone else not shocked that this open relationship basically that she was in? Because she said she knew about maybe he had another girlfriend in Miami where he has another place. But she found out that maybe there were more than one. If you really thought that there was just one other girl, please. But I also understand too, one other woman is a little different than maybe you're just, putting your thing in anything around the country. But all right. So she says the boyfriend says that when she says that she can't do this anymore, the boyfriend basically says to her, I actually think that's the right decision for you. It's like he was basically he's just thinking something like, yeah, I've had you for 10 years. I'm good. And she says that he thinks that this is the right decision for her. He did not fight for her at all. I mean, I'm not surprised by that, especially based off the dynamics of this relationship. He's probably like, yeah, I'm going to switch you out for a younger model. I wouldn't be surprised if he finds himself another young woman in Rhode Island that he's going to put up in that house. Just saying. But she says she's asking Liz for her help in regards to helping her pack up her things. But like word on the street is that this relationship was already over before the season even began. This was just going to be her storyline. She claims after they broke up, she broke up with him, and he was like okay with it. They fell asleep holding each other. Aww.
Lies! The lie!
All right, Rosie at home with her husband, Rich, right? It's Rich. I haven't really learned the husband's names, and I know some of you still have not learned these housewives' names, which is fine. I am here. I can, for the most part, remember all of their names. So Rosie, who is my Taurus sister with also a Leo moon, me and her got that in common. So I feel like I understand her in a way that some of you might not understand her. Rosie is tacky as hell, though. But here's the thing. None of these women are the most fashionable either. Can I just say that? None of these women are the most fashionable. However, I will say Rosie's fashion is questionable, especially in this week's episode. I was like, oh, girl, what do you got? What do you have on? So she's preparing for this Newport trip. I think someone asked me the other day if I've ever been to Newport. And I was like, no, I've never even been to Rhode Island. But apparently Newport, which is 30 minutes from Alicia's house, and she's like, I got to take an Uber for something like that. So Rosie's packing for this Newport trip. And she says, for the most part, I'm in a good place with everyone. I'm in a good place with Joella. I'm in a good place with this person, that person. She says, just right now, it's a little weird with Kelsey. But I feel like this Kelsey situation, we've talked about this last week, is a reach. You're mad at her because she didn't post you, but you never had a conversation with her posting you. And all the other people that she's posted on her social media, I'm sure they've had a conversation, or that was the transaction. And y'all didn't even take any pictures together when it happened. I feel like this is a reach. I believe Kelsey is just jumping on a bandwagon with Joellen and maybe Liz. Maybe Liz doesn't like Rosie either, and we just haven't seen it yet. I think she's jumping on a bandwagon. There is no issue here. You're upset with her about what? We will talk more about that. Rosie says that she's actually more shy and awkward. Here's the thing about Tauruses, and for those that are familiar with Tauruses, or if you are a Taurus, we are hard to get to know. I can own it. If you're dating a Taurus, if you are friends with a Taurus, until we trust you, that's when we will be comfortable and open up with you. It takes some warming up to someone like myself. So I completely get why maybe the group did not gravitate to Rosie, but Rosie actually is going to be a really good friend. I'm actually happy that Ashley and Rosie have found each other, because I feel like Ashley is a good egg in regards to being like a good person and a good, even-keeled person in this group. And that, for me, matches Rosie's energy. So Joellen and her sister Jen go shopping. I don't know about this story, y'all. I was trying to take a look at the fashions. I was like, again, I don't feel like any of these women are the most fashionable. So this is where we learn a little bit more about Joellen. She's already hinted at a tough relationship with her mother. And she had just lost her grandfather, who was like a father figure for her. She had lost her father already. So she says it's like she's a part of this, no father club, or you lost your father club. And now she feels like she's going through that again with the loss of her grandfather, because the grandfather really was sort of like the peacekeeper in their house and in their relationships with her mom. And she says to Jen that she feels like Jen's the favorite child. Jen's like, I'm not the favorite child. I think her mom just has a difficult time probably being the mom that Joellen envisions in her mind. So Joellen says that she's never had a motherly bond with her mother. She says that she's tried to have a conversation with her mother about their lack thereof of a bond. And they flash back to when the mom comes in. I'm here to, reporting for duty. And she's like, Mom, your grandmother shouldn't be feeling like work for you. Here's the thing. We would have to explore more of how her mom grew up to really understand why she's that way. And I'm sure some of you can actually relate to that, where you have that mother wound. And it's very clear, especially when we find out that her mother sent her off to a behavioral program for like incarcerated kids and arsonists and things like that. I'm like, oh, this got really dark really quickly. Because then I'm like, oh, now I understand why Joellen might have an issue with her mother. Especially when you think about the Paris Hilton of it all. So I wonder if Paris and her mother, I know they talked about it on their reality show that they had, but I haven't watched that reality show, so I don't know how they may have healed it. But Joellen being sent off to a behavioral program, ooh, I was like, okay. Jen says, though, that Joellen has sort of stopped the cycle with her own kids, which is usually what happens. That, usually, sometimes you start to do the same thing as your parent, or you do the opposite, very much like what Joellen is trying to do with her kids. But I'm not surprised. There's always going to be that family dynamic where maybe there's multiple kids in a family, and one kid wants the praise and adoration of their parent, while the other ones are like, I really could care less. That's who she is. It is what it is. But Joellen is like, no, I want the adoration and praise from my mom. All right. Guys, if you're just joining us, don't forget to like the video. It's an easy, free way of supporting not just my channel, but other channels as well. Don't forget, you can also hear an audio version of our live recaps on the KEMPIRE King of Pop Culture podcast. Make sure you subscribe today and give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. We're talking about the Real Housewives of Rhode Island. So Liz and Kelsey pack up her things. I feel like this was a scene. This was probably the last few things that she had in the house while she was filming. I believe that he just agreed to allow her to film in the house. They were already broken up. I really do believe they were already broken up, especially when she talked about how this all went down. But I was like, all right, we'll play the game. Kelsey. It's not like you didn't have a relationship with this man. So Kelsey says that this is going to be a big transition for her because she went from living with her parents to living with her boyfriend for the last 10 years. So her formative years were spent with this man and him taking care of everything. Liz says that she knows Kelsey's boyfriend. They went to high school together. And she says she'll always be friendly with the boyfriend because they went to high school together. So they say that... Liz feels like Bobby's more on the same page with Kelsey in regards to where he's going in life. Well, first of all, because they're probably around the same age. And I could see, especially if Kelsey's sort of like her formative years were spent with this man, now that she's almost 30, she's like, I would like to have a kid. I'd like to have like a normal life. This is not normal. I can completely understand why Kelsey is deciding to leave this relationship at this particular point in her life. I also tell you, I feel like there's something very dark and traumatic that's gone on in Kelsey's life, especially for you to go losing your virginity at 14, which is not unusual. We've talked about this before. However, there are little things that are adding up that makes me go, ooh, did this man groom her? She was only 19. She wasn't, her brain wasn't even fully formed yet at this particular point. So I do have not a soft spot in my heart for Kelsey, but I want to give her grace here because her formative years were controlled. She might not realize this, and she maybe will realize this in her second season, was controlled by this man. So Liz gives Kelsey this really beautiful gift. I don't even know. Was it like a little mirror thing? But it had like a message in it talking about her next chapter. But it was put in a Chanel dust bag, but it wasn't Chanel. You gotta love Liz. And look, Liz, it talks about this later, and she's like, I'm not the warmest person, but that there's a reason for that. And she talks about that a little bit later on, but she tries to be there for Kelsey. So Kelsey says, it's time for her to be an adult, and now she's really going to pursue like her passion for hair and makeup. All right. So the ladies start getting ready for their Newport trip, which I can appreciate. Newport's 30 minutes away. Alicia says, I will not drive 30 minutes to Newport. First of all, she doesn't like to drive, and she doesn't want to drive on those highways. So she said this is an Uber for her. 30 minutes. Rhode Island is really not that big. But they're really big on, like, if it's too far, it's too far. Okay? But they have a really cute idea. So Alicia and Liz are hosting this trip. So they have these old Rolls Royces taxing the women to this big, beautiful 43,000 square foot mansion in Newport. And I didn't realize Newport was like this, but then they give us the history of Newport. Like there's these big, fabulous mansions and homes that are there in Newport. All right. So where's Rula? Everyone's like, is Rula coming? Is Rula coming? I think Rula will probably eventually show up on this trip. I hope she does. But Rula is not there initially. She's not in this episode at all, especially after last week's episode with him being basically caught out there, Brian being caught out there going to see the mistress. I don't know. Someone tagged me in something that they said. I usually cite my sources, but I can't remember the user's name. But they said Rula basically wants Joellen. She knows that her husband's cheating. She wants Joellen to stop reminding her that he's cheating. And I was like, that is the damn truth. That is exactly what's happening here. So this mansion that they're staying at is owned by Liz's best friend's best friend. So this is a connection that Liz has. So this beautiful mansion was built 100 years ago. It's 43,000 square feet, 18 bathrooms, and 29 bedrooms. So we're not going to see any of these women fighting over a bedroom, which I was happy about. They also had 2 butlers there to be on their beck and call. Okay. So then we go into this doll lunch. This is a little creepy. Look, I love Alicia on this show, but this was creepy. Her packing up the dolls. I'm like, she really loves these dolls. So she packs up the dolls and she brings them outside. Sidebar, there was a little short scene with Alicia using one of those gold finder thingies. She's on the set. Oh, who thought of this? This was so random. Who gave her this? Did she really bring this gold finder to go on this mansion looking for gold? I was like, that is so random, but funny. Definitely funny. You know what else is funny? Nothing. Check out our friends over at Factor Meals sponsoring today's live recap. Okay, I get it. It's not a new year, but it can still be a new you. As you know, we've partnered with Factor many, many times, and this is no different. But let me paint a picture for you. Hunger strikes, and you're exhausted. I know it, especially on a busy day. There's something healthy in your fridge or pantry that you should be making, but you don't have it in you. Relatable, right? For me, eating healthy isn't a willpower problem. It's a setup problem until I found Factor. As you know, I have a busy schedule. Sometimes there's breaking news and I do not have the time in me to cook that meal or prepare for that meal. With Factor, I'm hitting my nutrition goals this season without the planning, grocery shopping, or cooking. What I also love about Factor is that you're getting great quality meals, dietitian approved meals. Factor has meals built around your goals, whether that's weight loss, overall nutrition, more protein, or GLP-1 support. For strength and workout recovery, check out Factor's Muscle Pro collection. As I've mentioned many times before, Factor meals are crafted with functional ingredients from lean proteins, colorful veggie, whole foods, and healthy fats. Factor bans 175 plus ingredients, no artificial colors, no sweeteners, no high fructose corn syrup, and no refined seed oils. And most importantly, convenience. Ready in 2 minutes, Factor shops, preps, cooks, and delivers straight to your door so you have more time for everything you love this spring. Head to factormeals.com/Kempire50 off and use code Kempire50 off to get 50% off and free daily greens per box with new subscription only while supplies last until September 27th, 2026. See website for more details. More details on Factor and your discounts will be available in the description. Thanks, Factor. I know you're probably tired of hearing people say, new year, new me. However, it can be a new year and a new you. Everyone is trying to get back into the gym. They're trying to do some weight loss things. You may have also heard of GLP-1s. Well, our friends over at Rhode has gotten you covered with the new GLP-1 pill. The pill is a new, more convenient and approachable way to GLP-1s if you've been thinking about it. A self-administered shot can be a bit intimidating. But now there's a pill that delivers comparable results. If you've been thinking about getting on a GLP-1, Rhode might be the way to do it. They have 100% online care, access to clinically proven, FDA-approved medications, free insurance checks, side effect management, dosing support, and more. Rhode offers the first FDA-approved GLP-1 pill for weight loss at the lowest cost around. The new GLP-1 pill has the same weight loss ingredient as the shot and packs comparable results to the shot. It can help patients lose 14% of their body weight in a year on average. This is based on a study in non-diabetics with obesity or overweight plus a weight-related condition with diet and exercise. You may have also seen Serena Williams talk about collaborating and endorsing Rhode as well. As a world-class athlete, she also wanted to drop pounds after having children. If I had needed this particular option, this is what I would use. A pill versus a shot? Why not? Go to ro.co/Kempire to see if you're eligible for the new GLP-1 pill on Rhode. That's ro.co/Kempire to get started on Rhode. Go to ro.co/safety for box warning and full safety information about GLP-1 medication. More details on your discount and more will be available in the description. Shout out to Factor and Rhode for sponsoring today's pre-recorded recap of the Real Housewives of Rhode Island and some other hot topics as well. If you haven't already, guys, be sure to like today's video, share today's video, subscribe to the channel. It's the subscribers only live chat. Shout out to our Kings Guards for holding us down as well. And for everything Kempire, including our sponsor information, will be available in the description. The same goes for those that are listening to us on the podcast. All right. So back to this recap. So we're at the doll lunch for Real Housewives of Rhode Island, ladies. Alicia packs up her dolls. Fine. Kelsey says she's worried about where she's going to live, and she doesn't know certain parts of about being an adult. Again, her formative years. So she doesn't know what a principal, the principal amount when it comes to your mortgage. She knows none of that. She just remembers her dad paying the bills and taking care of everything. And at first I was like, I don't think this is something you should brag about. But at the same time, I'm like, well, you know what, girl? You might need to learn that, especially if you're going to be with Bobby, unless you decide to get with someone similar like you did before. And I have a feeling that's what she's going to do. I think she's going to realize it's hard out here working. And she's going to find someone else that can basically front her lifestyle for the next 10 years. And she knows that's not going to be Bobby. Because if she really loved Bobby wanted to be with Bobby, she would have left this guy a long time ago to be with Bobby. I think Bobby's just convenient to be there. And I wouldn't be surprised that she expects Bobby to take care of a lot of things that she's used to a man taking care of, specifically her ex. However, her ex really hasn't stopped taking care of her. And she feels very much entitled to him taking care of her. She was like, if we were married, he would be taking care of me. But that's the point. He's legally not obligated. He's doing it because he wants to, but he's legally not obligated to do that. Hence why people get married, because there will be some legal obligation for him to do that. So whatever day he decides he doesn't want to do that anymore, if you say the wrong thing in these interviews, he'll be like, well, I'm not going to pay for that anymore. I'm not going to pay your rent. I'm not going to pay your health insurance. I'm not going to pay your car insurance. Okay. Anyway, so she's worried about that because she doesn't know about certain adulthood things because she's never had to worry about it. So the group arrives and they're all wearing their best. Well, quote, best. Ashley talks about these dolls that we're seeing that Alicia has brought for this doll lunch. And Ashley says that, well, I still have my NSYNC and my Jonas Brothers dolls, Barbies. I'm like, okay. I have to say, Ashley was a lot funnier in this last episode. She's been good so far, like decent. And some people will say that she's boring. I don't think, no, you don't need everyone turning up, especially with this cast. I mean, you guys haven't even seen it. I've heard so many things in regards to how this cast is behind the scenes. Like, they are just, like, all over the place. So, I feel like the edit kind of dulls them down a little bit. So, Ashley says she still has her NSYNC and Jonas Brothers dolls still. Joellen arrives and she says to Rosie, "You look like a stripper." In her confession, she's like, "I should have just said you don't look good." Joellen's one to watch too. And Joellen, she doesn't make me laugh as much as maybe on Alicia, but she also gives very good confessionals in regards to this. She makes me laugh too, though. She gives good shade, but she also gives. She's like, this is a good cast. There really wouldn't be anyone that I wouldn't bring back. However, I will say this: as I was watching this and I'm navigating this Kelsey storyline, I don't know what she's going to bring in season 2. But, I mean, I can see what she can bring into season 2, but I can't see her lasting for a long time on this show. Because based off of her just coming for Rosie too, it's sort of like you have nothing else going on. You seem like a follow fashion. It feels like you're reaching to produce something here. So I'm already sort of like, I'm kind of giving you the side eye. So she's the only one so far that I'm like, I could potentially see you not surviving next season or the following season. So Joellen says that it's rude that Rula didn't come because they're asking about Rula. Is she coming? And Alicia says, I don't know. She didn't tell me. And she did reach out to Rula and Rula didn't respond. Joellen says that Rula needs to stop blaming her for what's going on in her marriage. And look, in all fairness, if Joellen continues talking about the hua, the mistress, then I'm gonna kind of give Joellen the side eye. Let it go. You said that you're trying to help her out, but Liz doesn't believe that you actually feel bad either. And I kind of get where Liz is coming from, why she feels as if that Joellen doesn't necessarily feel bad, because I think there's more to this story than we realize in regards to, is Joellen really doing this out of the goodness of her heart, or is she intentionally trying to be a little bit hurtful? I think it could be a combination of both, where she doesn't really like Rula, or she wants to get revenge on Rula for trying to get her fired. Well, not Rula herself, but the husband, her family, the man that she's defending. So I could see a little bit of that. But Liz is like, I'm not falling for her. I don't believe Joellen actually feels bad. She doesn't feel like Joellen actually feels bad. This was like a very quick and short lunch. We had this quick and short lunch. They barely ate, and we're just looking at these dolls. But I think they wanted to have this moment for Alicia because she's also hosting this trip. So this was her lunch. Then we're going to have this masquerade dinner that Liz is hosting. All right. So Liz starts gathering the different masks. First of all, some of these masks were beautiful. Liz gives Rosie probably the most beautiful mask of all of them. She gave the Joker mask to Joellen, which I thought was interesting. But that wasn't even my least favorite mask. She gave her least favorite mask. Well, no, I'm saying it's her least favorite mask. I don't know if that's true. But it was my least favorite mask to Ashley. And I was like, damn, Ashley. Ashley couldn't even eat at dinner or drink at dinner because the mask had no mouth. But Rosie's mask was my favorite. Joellen's mask was funny to me. It wasn't necessarily a bad mask, but at least it had some character to it. Rosie, like I said, was my favorite mask. Ashley's mask was probably the worst. Alicia had a beautiful mask. Liz came down as a wolf, and she had like a wolf mask. That was a beautiful mask. And she says that she's more like a sheep in wolf's clothing, as opposed to the reverse. All right. Before they even come down, she sends the mask to their room so they can put it on while they're getting dressed. And she sends a note. So there's this big note talking about what this dinner is going to be about. Alicia's reading it, and she's like, facades? Facades is the word that she was trying to pronounce. I believe that this is Alicia. I know, watch next season, people are like, oh, Alicia's just putting this on. This is not who she really is. We've heard Alicia's voice notes during the after show. This is who Alicia really is. This is who she really is. All right. So, okay, moving on. The ladies, they go downstairs in their masks and things like that. So this is an opportunity for the women to talk about some of the things that they've been hiding. And, you know, that's the whole theme of the masquerade party. Like, you know, take off your mask and tell us who you really are. And talk about, you know, some of the most traumatic things in your life. So that's when Joellen reveals that she was sent away by her mom to a behavioral camp for arsonists and problem children and things like that. And I was like, oh my gosh. So Joellen says that's probably part of the reason why she feels like she has to prove to Rula, to prove that Rula's wrong and that she's right, because she didn't do that as a child for herself. A lot of people are running around here with trauma from their childhood and taking it out on everyone else. But I kind of get where Joellen's coming from, especially that. Can you imagine what she saw at that behavioral camp and what she had to endure? Because if, let's say, you're the one, you really aren't having issues like that, but your parents send you to a place where people have some real issues, like that's got to be traumatic. Like you're running around with people that she probably had to toughen up really quickly. I really fell for Joellen in that moment. Liz says that she isn't afraid of anyone. She says that she isn't afraid. Oh, the reason why she doesn't come close to anyone because she's afraid of losing people. Because then she talks about losing her mom at 15 years old. I really felt like this dinner really showed a side of the women that made us understand them more. Like, this was a really good episode. If you had to rate this week's episode from 1 to 10, how would you rate it? I thought it was a good episode because there was funny, there was shade, there was onions being peeled away in regards to these women. So dare I say I was going to give this episode a 9.5. That's the first number that came to mind. So Liz talks about why she's afraid. She has abandonment issues. So she's afraid to get close to people because she's afraid that they're going to, disappear from her life or she's going to lose them. I was like, oh, because she lost her mom at 15. I was like, that makes a lot of sense. So it's Ashley's turn. And look, Ashley, this is why you're needed for the show. I know people will say that you're boring. I don't think you're boring. You're quirky. You're funny without even trying. Why did Ashley start crying at the thought of not having a sob story? And she said this was her experience on The Bachelor, was the fact that she's like, I don't have a sob story, but I'm like deathly afraid that one day I am going to have a sob story. And yeah, look, there are, I'm sure there's things that have happened in her life that she could connect with, but in her head, she's like, I don't have a sob story, which is a blessing. But Joe Ellen is just like, is she really crying about not having something to cry about? She is like, girl, if you don't get away from me with this. I was here for it though. Joella made me laugh in that moment. I was just like, yes, that is exactly what Ashley is crying about. She is crying that she doesn't have anything to cry about. OMG. Okay. Rosie then talks about her story. And she says she feels selfish choosing herself. And she's so used to always making her mom happy. Remember, she talked about that earlier in the season, that she got married in the Catholic Church because that was something her mother wanted her to do. But she says she's starting to choose herself first. And basically, I'm not surprised of her saying that, especially for women. I think that happens for a lot of women, especially Taurus women, where they do stuff like that. So, because sometimes when they talk about that being a Taurus trait, I think for men it's a little bit different. But I wasn't completely surprised when she said that that's something that she struggles with. All right. Rosie says, so Kelsey starts talking about things that she's going through. People wanted to get like an update in regards to her separation. I don't know what to call it. Breakup. So Rosie is confused. And she said, I thought Kelsey was dating several people. Kelsey's already has been bringing the new boyfriend, Bobby, around. Okay. Kelsey reveals that her ex still pays, though, for her health insurance, car insurance, and her rent. Rosie had me laughing in her confessional because she says that he still pays all your bills. Now he's just a real sugar daddy. Before she could at least pretend that he was her boyfriend. Rosie has some of the best confessionals. Like, she is top tier shade. And I think that's where some of these other Housewives shows like Beverly Hills lack. They will just scream at each other as opposed to like witty shade. Rosie is giving us witty shade in her confessionals. So Kelsey also says that she feels like she's entitled to him taking care of her. She said it's the least he can do. Because she's like, if we were married for 10 years, yeah, but you weren't. And that's where I don't think she's smart. You weren't married to this man. If he wanted to, unless she knows where the bodies are buried, and that's the only reason why he's still taking care of her, I don't see why she feels entitled to anything, because you weren't married to this man. And I don't know the domestic partner laws in Rhode Island. It could be different. Maybe she is entitled as a domestic partner. I don't know. But I don't know those rules. That's not the way she's making it seem. She's like, I'm entitled to it. She was just like, that's the least he can do. The least he can do? You broke up with him, ma'am. At least that's according to you. And he's wished you well. He's taking care of you. He's giving you a lavish lifestyle for 10 years. That's not the least he could do. The least he could do is be like, bye. And actually be there when you leave to make sure you don't take anything else that doesn't belong to you. I just, the entitlement turned me off to Kelsey, but I'm not surprised. Especially when you see what happens at the end of this week's episode. All right. So she says that Rosie says he still pays all your bills. Now he's just a real sugar daddy. Before, she could at least pretend that he was a boyfriend. Okay. All right. So then Alicia talks about being homeless. But Liz is like, you were never homeless, ma. You were never homeless. And here's the thing. I'm going to talk on the fence because I get where Liz is coming from, because she's like, you were never homeless. A homeless person would be very probably upset the fact that you're saying you were homeless. But I also get where Alicia is coming from. She was like, we were kicked out of our home. We had to go live with my grandparents. So everything that I grew up, with, and at the time I didn't really realize it, but now looking back at my childhood, I went from having my own room to my sports car bed to now I'm sharing a room with my mother. And I don't have any of those things. And I didn't realize it until maybe I got a little bit older. I was like, wait a minute. Basically, we lost our home. But Liz, we have to remember, Liz knows the family. It's good friends with Liz's mom and sisters and things like that. Like they're close. And she's like, nah, ma, you weren't homeless. But I get where Alicia's coming from. That doesn't take away from the trauma of, oh, wait a minute. I went from having my own house to now we don't have a house to call home. But I also get Liz in a literal sense. She's like, but you weren't homeless, ma. You weren't in the streets, ma. She didn't say it like that, but I'm going to say it like that. Okay. So I get where both of them are coming from, but this is Alicia's story. And Alicia's just like, because she's close, because Liz is close with my family, she wants to downplay my trauma. Okay. So then Kelsey compliments. I'm gonna put compliments in in quotes. She says to Rosie, "That was the first genuine thing that came out of your mouth." And I appreciate Ashley stepping in and saying, like, that's pretty shady what you just said. And the reason why Ashley's stepping in is because Rosie said so. I was like, I feel like you didn't come to my defense. Because I do, based on what I've been hearing, feel like the entire cast, the good majority of the cast, have been against Rosie this entire season. So she does feel left out. She does feel alienated from this group. And I feel like Kelsey knew that. And that's why Kelsey jumped on the bandwagon. You don't have a real issue with Rosie. You made this issue. And that compliment that you gave her was a backhanded compliment. Like, oh, I felt like this was the first time that you were genuine. Excuse me? I know you not talking about genuine. Girl. So Rosie's just like, here's the thing though, Rosie, that I'm concerned with, besides your fashion. You have a lot, you are a confessional gangsta. I'm entertained by your confessional gangsta. I just feel like in the moment though, you don't have that same energy. But buckle up, especially if you see this. I need you to bring it when it comes to this reunion. You need to have that same energy in the confessional so I know that it's you and not someone feeding you lines. Even though I don't think someone's feeding her lines. So Kelsey tries to compliment Rosie. She said, that was the first genuine thing that came out of your mouth. And then it's so crazy that everyone was like, that was a compliment. Joanne's like, no, you don't be mad. That was the compliment. And Ash's like, y'all can't say that was a compliment when she's basically, it's a backhanded compliment. And for those of you watching in the live chat or the replay, what do you guys think? That was definitely a backhanded compliment, especially when you see what she's saying, what Kelsey's saying in her confessionals and saying to the other women about Rosie. That was a backhanded compliment. There's a better way that you could have said that. But fine. You still don't like her because of her not posting you on her social media. Damn, girl, you that desperate for her to post you? It's giving lame, honestly. So after the dinner, everyone goes to their rooms. Rosie and Ashley are talking about what Kelsey said at the dinner. And here come Joe Ellen and Kelsey listening. I feel like you guys look so lame listening to their conversation. Just so that you can act like the big dog walking in, like, confronting, you pitiful ladies are sitting by the door listening to my conversation. Yes, we're talking about you because you were lame. That was a backhanded compliment. So Joe Ellen and Kelsey come into the room. Kelsey says that Rosie isn't honest and lied about her house and her job, about getting fired from the job. I have to say, based off of how you told that story, Rosie, I do find that to be a little bit questionable. But Rosie's just like, why would I lie about me bleeding out of my butt as opposed to just saying that I'm fired? And I was like, well, I mean, I don't know. Look, I don't know. Rosie says, why would I admit to bleeding from my butt instead of getting fired? Then Kelsey claims that Rosie exaggerates things, and she uses the example of her adding square footage to her home. But we literally see that's what she's doing. This is literally what we see Rich tell Jared. We're adding this 5,000 square feet to the property. And if she's lying, then we'll see in season 2 of Real Housewives of Rhode Island. But all of these things that Kelsey has an issue with does not involve Kelsey. And that's literally what Rosie says. Like, you have all these issues with me about things that don't involve you. It involves rumors. rumors about me getting fired from this job, rumors about my home. She's like, Rosie then says, well, no, this is what I'm doing. Excuse me. This is what I'm doing to the home. And then all of a sudden Kelsey's like, no, it's actually 1,000 square feet. Are you looking up my property? Like, well, how would you even know that? And look, she hasn't provided any proof. For all we know, Kelsey's making that up too. And even Ashley's like, are you okay? Like, why? Like, why are we fighting over square footage right now? So Rosie says in her confessions, which was a read. Honestly, if she had said it in the moment, I probably would have appreciated it more, and I wouldn't be like, oh, no, she definitely has it. Because I don't feel like Rosie has it in the moment. So after Kelsey makes these claims about Rosie, Rosie says in her confessional, you're attacking my house, you don't have a house. You're attacking my relationship, my husband, you don't have a husband. And I know what some of you are going to say. Are we going to do that? No, she's pointing out the facts. You're attacking me, and it's not legitimate. You're attacking my house, you ain't got a house. You just got kicked out of one. Okay? You're attacking my relationship and my husband. You don't even have a husband. You're attacking my career. You've had one for about a year. If that. If that, maybe. These reads are landing for me. She's right, though. All of this is factual. You're attacking me for all the things that you don't have. And I can't even say you had a career, because you don't. You don't have a career in hair and makeup right now. So then there's that. Here's another week of Rosie reading the girls, and I'm here for it. I am here for it. She read her down, and she read her down in the confessional. I need to see if Rosie is going to be able to bring this live and in person and at this reunion. She better. But I do see why Rosie feels the way that she feels with these women. She feels alienated from these women, and that's probably part of the reason why she asked Ashley, like, I need you to step up more and defend me as well and have my back, because everyone is coming for her. And I will say, Ashley says, this was easy for me to defend because it was so obvious that it was a backhanded compliment from Kelsey. Kelsey, it's coming across jealous. It's coming across like you want to be the only young, cute one in this group. And I always tell you, a lot of times these women are fighting about the show, and they're not necessarily fighting about what they're actually fighting about on the show. They're fighting for their position. Because again, we're watching a show assuming that all these women knew that they were going to be full-time housewives. Sidebar, did you guys notice that Dolores was not there? How is Dolores missing a group trip? Not needed. But you know what, Dolores? Get your check. If Bravo is stupid enough to pay you for being lackluster, boring, and not bringing anything to the show, get your check, Dolores. I'm not going to be mad. I'm not mad at you. But I'm going to point out, like, you brought nothing to the show. And you weren't needed. Clearly, maybe according to production at this particular point, they were like, yeah, we don't need to pay for her to come. She can stay where she is. But then she buy a house or rent out a house in Rhode Island for the summer in order to film. So I'm not understanding what's happening here. Why are you missing a group trip? Not to say that you would have brought much anyway. I feel like these ladies didn't need you. But maybe Bravo at the time, they weren't sure. Or maybe Bravo at the time, women weren't bringing it. Because remember, they filmed this a long time ago. And I feel like what we're seeing here is a lot of editing. There's a lot of truthful stuff happening. There's a lot of connection. But I do feel like there's a lot of editing. This is why I can't wait for the reunion, because let's see. I think it's going to give very much Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. The editing makes Salt Lake City interesting, but the reunions are always lackluster. But we shall see. Maybe it won't be. I'm willing to be wrong. I'm often not, though. Still saying. So, Rula wasn't in this episode. Dolores wasn't in this episode. I don't know where Dolores was, but that's okay, Dolores. That's okay. That's all right. Maybe. All right. Guys, if you haven't already, be sure to like the video. It's an easy, free way of supporting not just my recap, but other recaps that are very similar here on YouTube and on the podcast. And if you're listening on the podcast, be sure to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Thank you to our King's Guards. Thank you to our channel members for being here. And of course, thank you to our subscribers. And those of you that are new subscribers, if you're new here, if you're part of the replay crew, be sure to let us know your thoughts and opinions on the Real Housewives of Rhode Island, on Andy Cohen basically saying the door is open, but just not to any of my shows, on Bravo. Maybe. Let's continue this conversation in the comment section. I will see you all in the next one. I appreciate you all understanding. Look, I got things to do too. It's my birthday month. I got plans that I need to take care of too. Can I go get my nails did? I definitely need to go get my nails did. Just saying. And the toes. I gotta get ready for my birthday on Monday. Guys, don't forget you can also book me for your birthday. And when I say book me, on Cameo, if you want a birthday shout out, a Mother's Day shout out, we got a special deal going on right now on Cameo. Head on over to cameo.com/The KEMPIRE, I believe it is, or just Google The KEMPIRE on Cameo. Okay? Thank you all for being here. Again, I hope you guys have a fantastic Tuesday. See you all in the next one. Bye, y'all.
Thanks for tuning in to Kempire here on the Kempire Radio Network. Don't forget to give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. And for more information on the podcast, head on over to KempireRadio.com.
This podcast is supported by MIDI Health. Are you in midlife, feeling dismissed, unheard, or just plain tired of the old healthcare system? You're not alone. For too long, women's serious midlife health issues have been trivialized, ignored, and met with a just deal with it attitude. Many of us have been made to feel ashamed or forgotten. In fact, even today, 75% of women seeking care for menopause and perimenopause issues are left entirely untreated. But here's the powerful truth. It's time for a change. It's time for MIDI. MIDI is not just a healthcare provider. It's a woman's telehealth clinic, founded and supported by world-class leaders in women's health. What sets MIDI apart? We are the only women's telehealth brand covered by major insurance companies, making high-quality expert care accessible and affordable. Our clinicians provide one-on-one, face-to-face consultations where they truly listen to your unique needs. We offer a full range of holistic, data-driven solutions, from hormonal therapies and weight loss protocols to lifestyle coaching and preventative health guidance. This isn't one-size-fits-all care. This is care uniquely tailored for you. At MIDI, you will join our patients who feel seen, heard, and prioritized. You will find that our mission is clear: to help all women thrive in midlife, giving them access to the health care they deserve. Because we believe midlife isn't the middle at all. It is the beginning of your second act. Ready to feel your best and write your second act script? Visit joinmidi.com today to book your personalized insurance-covered virtual visit. That's joinmidi.com. MIDI, the care women deserve.